In a transfer that is getting closer and closer by the day, looking more and more certain to happen, Arsenal look set to get Riccardo Calafiori for a reported 50 million euros. The personal terms are all agreed, and basically, according to reports, all we are waiting for now before we get the here we go from Fabrizio Romano and the eventual announcement from the club, it's just the final details between the two clubs agreed on how the 50 million euros will be paid. Even though I think we all know how long Arsenal takes to announce transfers for some reason, I can't wait for that announcement video. Now, in the previous video I made about Riccardo Calafiori, I spoke about how he doesn't really fit our team needs right now unless we make some sales. Saying that as of right now, our team needs are more predicated on needing an elite holding midfielder, desperately needing a backup winger for Saka, and maybe even another striker and definitely another backup goalkeeper if we sell Ramsdale. But I thought in today's video to assess how this transfer will actually work with the team we have currently constructed. What can Calafiori bring to this team that we don't necessarily have already? And why, if we can make some sales, despite what our team needs currently need, this may end up being an elite and important move by Arsenal and Arteta. So what's going on, everyone? You are listening to Gunner Central here. I hope you're all doing well. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get into it. Now, most players that are able to play multiple positions are slightly better in one position as opposed to the other, making it very obvious that they still have a main position. For example, Kiwior can play left back, but he's a much better centre back than he is at left back, so therefore we all consider Kiwior mainly a centre back. But with Riccardo Calafiori, I don't know if he is better at left back or as a centre back. His whole career up until the beginning of last season, he played as a left back, but the whole of last season at Bologna under Thiago Motta and during the Euros in Italy, Calafiori played as a left-sided centre-back, and with Italy he was a left-sided centre-back in a back three. Calafiori is quick enough, technical enough, and a good enough one-on-one defender to be playing as a full-time left-back, but he's also more than strong enough and tall enough to play as a centre-back. And right now with Arsenal having 6 players that can play as a left-back right now, and having 5 players that can play as a left-sided centre-back, of course, there is overlap with some players being able to play both left back and centre back, like Kiwior, Timber, or even Tierney. Where will Calafiori fit in this defense? Well, like I said in the last video, if we bring Calafiori, which we most likely will now, we absolutely have to make some sales. We still have the likes of Nuno Tavares on our books. We still have the likes of Kieran Tierney on our books, both of which must be sold this summer, although Tierney is injured, so I don't know how that's going to work. And even with the likes of Zinchenko and possibly even Kiwior, who may both get sold this summer, even though I'd prefer to keep Kiwior, being that Kiwior is versatile, can play left back, can play centre back, and we always need some depth. And I mean, also showed some good promising signs last season. But if we don't make those sales within, I think we'll be a little bit too stacked in the defensive unit. But now, being that we do sell at least 2 to 3 defenders, which I'm expecting Arsenal to do, well then where would Calafiori fit? Well, that's the beautiful thing about this transfer. Calafiori is a really high-level defender on the ball, he's very technically sound, and is more than good enough to play as an inverted left-back, which we all know Arteta loves to do. I would still put him behind Timber in the pecking order of inverted left-backs. I just think Timber is such a good player. But I'd also have Calafiori ahead of, yes, even Zinchenko as an inverted left-back, being that Calafiori is so much better at defending than Zinchenko, which isn't saying much, but it is the facts. But now another way you could look at it is that if we are playing how we did when Kiwior was playing at left back, being that we'd have the inverted right back and the left back playing just a pure out and out left back position, well then again I think Calafiori is more than good enough to fill that role as an out and out left back. And we could even see games where we might want to rest Ben White and start Timber at right back being the inverted right back and stay with Calafiori as an out and out left back. Or we could have games where we want to rest maybe Urian Timber, we start Ben White as an inverted right back, keeping Calafiori as an out and out left back. And I mean, we've seen in the Euros and in modern football recently that it's very popular for teams when they're on the ball to build with a back three, sending one of the fullbacks into midfield or higher up the wingers, which if we play with an inverted right back, so say we have Ben White inverting on the right back side, well then Calafiori will fit perfectly into the back three with Saliba, Gabriel and himself, which would be awesome for the build-up, but also defensively because Calafiori is such a good left-back and he's such a good centre-back. I think it would be a perfect mix for Arsenal. Another thing Calafiori will bring is just overall depth at the centre-back position. Anyone can get injured, and if something happens to Gabriel Magalhaes, knock on wood, nothing will happen, but if something were to happen, even there, Calafiori can still fill in as our first choice backup as a left centre-back, because I think he's even a better centre-back than Kiwior is. Look, overall depth is very important for a squad in a long season where Arsenal are hoping to get far in as many competitions as we can, and adding Riccardo Calafiori will give us depth, allowing us to rest more players, but also yet add more youth at the age of just 22 years old and add more quality to one of the best defensive units last season in the whole of Europe. Look, I'm very sure that Arteta and Arsenal know we need more than just Calafiori to compete next season with Man City and Liverpool and so on, and I'm sure that they know we need a midfielder and another attacker, so I'm 1000% sure that this won't be the last move by Arsenal in the summer. I can almost guarantee it. We still have so many players to potentially sell, so the price tag of 50 million euros, in my opinion, is a very good price tag for a 22-year-old that will bring so much depth and so much quality to our defensive line and has such a high ceiling. So that's why I'm not too upset just yet by the lack of addressing the needs in this team. And if we do manage to get a midfielder and an attacker later on in the window, well then at the end of the window, I'm sure we will all look back at this window saying that signing of Riccardo Calafiori is actually a perfect one for the present and the future of this club. However, if we don't address the blatant needs in this team, then I will be very annoyed. Not because Calafiori isn't a good player, not because he doesn't suit how we play and what we want to do, but because we desperately need a defensive midfielder, and we desperately need a backup for Bukayo Saka, and if we sell Ramsdale, well then obviously we will need a backup goalkeeper. But if we do address the needs as well as getting Riccardo Calafiori in the window, which I'm sure we will do, well then I think this is the perfect signing for Arsenal and our defensive unit.